Oh my God! Please, for the love of God, suck me! Suck me, please! Welcome back to the channel. I am the Pumpkinator. Today, we're gonna be looking at the Vampirella comic series. Because it won the poll! Look at you. You do have a... Oh my God, please, I need her. Created by Forrest J. Ackerman and Trina Robbins for Warren Publishing. These guys made absolute art and also comic history. Whoa, mama. Vampirella was published under Warren Publishing from 1969 to 1983, and she was a spin-off of Warren's horror anthologies, Creepy and Eerie, which are both cool on their own. I think you should check them out. But in 1983, Warren Publishing went bankrupt, and all their assets were purchased by Harris Comics. But they didn't release a comic for her until 1988. But after that, there was a huge legal battle started for her in 1999 by the owner of Warren Publishing, James Warren. And after Warren won his case in 2001, it was decided that Warren gets to keep the rights to all of his properties, but would allow Harris Comics to continue publishing Vampirella comics. But it's a little murky on all the details of the case, so you know, I don't know. But after that, he continued to allow them to publish comics for her until 2007. But the following years after 2007, they started publishing quarterly comics for her up until 2010. That's when the rights for her were acquired by Dynamite Comics, which is where she remains today. I think that's pretty cool. I love Dynamite Comics. They published a newer Space Ghost and Johnny Quest comics. Yeah, I like Boomerang growing up. There's a gorilla for sale. I'm gonna get a gorilla for sale. Plus, they publish older IP, so it kind of fits, you know? And I'm sure you all know that she's a pretty big name in the horror comic community. I mean, just in the comic book community in general. That's why she's been around for over 50 years, has a movie, and has a bunch of crossovers. And it's literally in every Comic-Con that I've ever been to. Seriously, bro, it's like she's following me around. If you want my attention, all you gotta do is ask, baby. So today we're gonna check out a couple of her stories and maybe even her movie. So I guess the best place to start is where it all began. So let's dive into Vampirella. Issue 1 starts with Vampirella taking a shower. Thank you. But that liquid isn't exactly water. It's actually blood. Yeah, Vampirella isn't your run-of-the-mill vampire. She actually lives on a planet called Draculon that has blood as its main water source. But the planet runs into a problem because the 2 suns that the planet has causes a drought, leaving them all starving. Vampirella is told that some strange aliens crash landed near her, so she decides to check it out. And when she gets there, 2 astronauts are just leaving the wreckage. She thinks it'd be better to check them out in bat form for some fuck-ass reason. And when she gets there, they're like, yo, is that a bat? Kill that John! Well, they zap her with a laser, which does nothing but piss her off. So she goes invisible to adjust her approach. She sneaks up behind them and slurps them up. Then she realizes that they have blood in their veins. So she goes to the ship to see if there's more people, where she finds an entire feast for herself. Yummy. And now that's where her first appearance ends. And, you know, it's kind of short. I kind of forgot that comics back in the day had multiple stories in them. The rest of the stories in there are unrelated to her, but, you know, they contain baddies, so go ahead and check them out. So you're probably wondering, like, what happens next? Well, she doesn't really have, like, a super strong story. More like a whole bunch of loose narratives of her going on different adventures. Stuff like her going to Earth and joining a monster contest to, like, avoiding an entire cult. You know, normal stuff. But she doesn't really get her first somewhat serialized story until the 90s, when she's with Harris Comics, where they made multiple Vampirella miniseries. So I say we should check out my favorite one, The Dracula Wars. The issue starts with Vampirella spying on a demonic sacrifice in Pennsylvania. 15 kids have vanished in their surrounding towns, and Vampirella's partner, Adam Van Helsing, was able to track them down. That's why they're able to ambush the bad guys, who turn out to be freaking werewolves. They used to be a part of this secret occult society that used to run America, but their leader got taken out. Now Vampirella and crew are taking out the scum that remain. They take him on, and Pendragon tries to fight these wolves, but they slap that sword out of his hand. He panics, so he reaches into his pocket and throws a sunstone in the sky, unleashing a bunch of sunlight, burning all the werewolves, and defeating all their enemies. As they're releasing all the kids, Vampirella thinks back to her home planet. She remembers that her planet's blood river dried up, but she knows that's not the whole story. She approaches the altar and sees an ancient statue of her, but she's not sure how it got there or why it's being used for a blood sacrifice. So she takes it so she can investigate more. They get all the kids to the safe space, and then their crew get picked up by Helsing's assistant. They all work for the government, who's trying to keep everything under wraps so that the public doesn't panic. They go to Helsing's abode, where he bought Mr. P a brand new horse-drawn carriage that he tricked out with a whole bunch of modern conveniences. It's like modern in the 90s, so it's like maybe like a CD player and, I don't know, like cup holders. Ooh. Well, actually, it's an armory and a computer terminal. Mr. P says that he appreciates all that Helsing's done for him, but it might be time for him to go on his way. But first, he decides to go through the cabinet looking for a minibar. But instead, he finds a blood substitute serum that Helsing made for Vampirella. She's a little offended because she told him that she uses her thirst to fuel her combat, but she also understands that he's coming from a good place, so she decides to keep it. We then cut to this guy who's being chased by some crazy shit. He tries to get away but gets knocked into the water. Wait, whoa, what's that all about? They show this guy early in the comic, but he just pulls out the 9 and shoots an unseen enemy. And I didn't mention it before because I was just like, I don't know what's going on. I'm sure we'll find out more in a bit. Cutting back to Vampirella, she's checking on Helsing, who's going through Congress papers. Well, she tells him that that's gonna have to wait because it's time to wine and dine our girlie. Oh my God, that dress. Let me calm down. They seem like they're having a good time, and Vampirella asks them to dance. They start to slow dance, which gets Vampirella into the mood. But Helsing's pager starts going off, which kind of ruins the mood. It's his assistant telling him that there's some trouble over in Europe. They leave and head to the docks where they see a boat being driven by a guy named Hodgkins, and he's getting followed by a French destroyer. They try to figure out what to do, but the Coast Guard pulls up and the destroyer shoots depth charges into the water, which wakes up this weird tentacle monster that starts attacking everything. Vampirella dives into the water, but then gets attacked by all the tentacles. Hentai? Yay, hentai, yay! Ooh, it stings. Never use scented lotion. Well, actually, she rips the tentacles apart and notices something. It's the man from earlier. She pulls him to the surface while the Coast Guard takes on the tentacle monster. When she gets to the surface, she checks to see if Hodgkins is still alive, but there's something wrong. Helsing comes running to check on him too, but they find him sucked dried. It turns out a whole bunch of vampires took turns feeding on him for hours, and Hodgkins uses his last words to warn them of Dracula. Cutting back to Helsing's office, he's trying to convince Vampirella to go to Europe, but she doesn't seem too interested in that. She wants to investigate the statue of her she found, but Helsing says that this is important. She tells him that she's not his operative, but his girlfriend, and he's like, yeah, you're right, but Dracula has some sort of influence in Europe, and if it's not dealt with, it could be an international incident. He also says that Dracula is from Dracula too, so he might know a little something about the statue. He then says that he loves her, but he's a US senator, and that means something. It first started as a pose to Mantra, but now he's a real red-blooded American, and he takes his job seriously. She's like, all right, bro, fine, I'll go, calm down. And that's how the first issue ends, and I gotta say, it's kind of a huge departure from the source material. I like how they use things from like the source material from the Warren run, like her being from a different planet, or like the planet's blood supply drying up, you know, while also adding new characters and giving her some depth, you know. And also the visuals are a lot more captivating. Now you're probably wondering in this story, what happens next, right? Well, they all go to Europe to find Dracula, but they kind of mess around a little bit. Like, they have a whole magic show. But the show reveals that Vampirella is a vampire, which freaks all the people out and they attack them. They all make a run for it, but they get stopped by two mecha niggas. They attack her, but she straight dog walks them. And when she lands, she gets greeted by these cool vamps who want to take her to Dracula's castle. And he's straight chilling on his throne. He says it's nice to see her again and is low-key being chill with her. He says that his castle is a safe haven for vampires. And they got all the stops. Big rooms, cobwebs, and hors d'oeuvres. He has his occult minions attack some soldiers, and they absolutely obliterate them. She's obviously not too jazzed about that, but Dracula says it's the best for them. She asks how the European alliance leader is chilling with him just killing soldiers, but he says that she's under his control, and is chilling in Monte Carlo. And now he wants to make Vampirella into a pawn just like her. He tries to brainwash her and brings a dude for her to drink, but it doesn't work at all, so they tie her up so that her hunger will get the best of her. Meanwhile, this dude and Mr. P are still being chased by the mecha guys. This unit leads them away from Mr. P, while he uses his hypnosis dial to get to Monte Carlo. Cutting back to Vampirella, she's all chained up. Dracula comes in and tries to use hypnosis on her again, which, if it didn't work the first time, why would it work this time? Well, she pretends to be hypnotized to get info about her home planet, but it turns out that everything that she knows now is just a big lie that Dracula made up with his cult. Well, finding that out doesn't really make her happy, so she slices his throat, and then she fights her way out. Dracula's fine somehow, and sends his agents to Monte Carlo to go find her. Bro, she doesn't want you, dog. Like, I get it, but like, just take the L, fam. When she gets there, she meets up with Mr. P in a bar, but then she starts to break down because she actually doesn't know anything about herself. He comforts her though. Meanwhile, Helsing decides to go to Europe to help his friends out. After some time, the cult of Chaos attacks Vampirella and Mr. P, but they make quick work out of him. This pisses off Dracula, so he sends his goons to Monte Carlo to try to save the European alliance leader. But they kind of shit the bed because Vampirella just kills her and stops his plan of world domination. So yeah, it's kind of cool. There's a whole bunch more miniseries that she has that are actually really cool, but this one is just my personal favorite. And after covering that last comic for my video, I was really torn of what I should cover next for her. I mean, she has a whole bunch of crossovers with like Alien, Hack and Slash, Kiss, Ash from Evil Dead, The Reanimator, Witchblade, which I will cover one day, I promise, Purgatory, My Mom, Your Mom, and Red Sonja. But after some research, I found out that she has a movie, so I decided to cover that next. Released by Sunset International in the straight-to-DVD TV movie in 1996. This movie was definitely interesting. Like, when it first started, I was like, is this porn? Also, I could only find the movie with Spanish subtitles, so you know, sorry if you don't like Spanish. The movie starts with a Miss Ella talking to a Draculan ambassador who also turns out to be her dad. He's in charge of a trial for this crazy guy named Vlad. She tells her dad that she loves him, which is great because during Vlad's trial, he planned a daring escape where all of his allies come in and kill the entire council, including her dad. And bro, all of their deaths look so funny. It looks like something that me and my friend would have made when we were in 8th grade. You know, like so badly, like this basically. Vlad's also mad disrespectful with it because he decides to drink her dad. He then gets on a ship and flies all of his friends to Earth so that they can go on a feeding frenzy. All while Ella discovers her dying father. Her dad tells her not to go after revenge, but she says fuck that and makes her way to Earth. She runs into the white version of me who's about to get straight up robbed. She saves him and he takes her back to his house. And he gives her a lead to find one of the people that killed her father. We then cut to a military task force that have actually found Vlad. And he's torturing my guy real good. I mean, look at those reactions. The task force is run by Adam Van Helsing, who's able to capture one of Vlad's minions so that he can get some info out of him. Cutting back to Vampirella, she's able to find one of the vampires at a school. Apparently he's the leading expert in vampire stuff because, you know, he's like an actual vampire. She tells him to tell her where Vlad is, but he claims that he doesn't know. So she threatens to kill his family, which causes him to attack her. But she straight beats the crap out of him. And even when he fights back, she just tanks all of his hits. But then she throws him out of a window and he gets impaled on a spire. After that, she turns into a bat and tips. Oh my god, bro. This movie's actually amazing, dog. She flies to her murder victim's house and checks out his family until she notices a poster of Vlad on the wall. And he seems to have turned himself into a rock star. So she decides to pop into one of his shows. And he's kind of cooking with that music.
Look at yourself in the mirror. All you do is stop this.
And when this performance is over, he decides that he wants to try to flirt with Vampirella. He asks her if she wants to blow this pop stand and leads her to this dark dirt road where he tries to drink from her. But he gets stopped by the task force, who arrests them both. But Vlad breaks free and takes Helsing as hostage, and Vampirella low-key almost lets Helsing get bit, but she stops Vlad at the last second, allowing him to get away. After this, Helsing and Vampirella go to a hotel room, and Helsing questions her on what she knows. She says that she came after him, but she crash-landed on Mars and was stuck there for 30 centuries, and was only able to get off Mars because Earth's astronauts found her and moved her into the ship, and then they just kind of brought her back. Anyway, after this, Helsing and Vampirella decide to team up. Helsing brings Miss V to the military compound so that they can brief her on everything, and then they just go back to the hotel room where Helsing can just trauma dump about him having to kill his daddy because Vlad turned him into a vampire. And then immediately after hearing that, she tries to bang Helsing. But like, dude, read the room. If that was me, I would have just left. Oh, okay. Hell yeah, dude. Well, he goes home where this lady's waiting for him, and she shows her, whoa, I can't show that on YouTube. And the second vamp lady bonks Helsing on the noggin. Also, let's keep it a buck. There was no reason for her to show her glass cutters like that. They just wanted us to goon in real time. But yeah, he gets kidnapped, which Vampirella isn't too happy about. The military operatives send her after him and let her bring Demos so they can have a hostage exchange. When they get there, they get confronted by these guys, and they got our boy Helsing. They tell her that Vlad wants her to leave the planet with them, and then they exchange the hostages. But the obviously not Helsing isn't Helsing, so she slaps the crap out of him, revealing this guy. She turns into a bat and gets out of there, while the military ops that came with open fire, but some of the vampires also escape. Vampirella goes to Vlad's compound and sneaks inside, all while Demos gets questioned by Vlad. Demos promises that he didn't squeal, so Vlad decides to make his evil bad guy speech, saying that they're going to take over the world using Dracula and satellites to cause a nuclear winter to block out the sun. That way they can feast to their heart's content. Later on, Vampirella goes to Vlad's sleeping chambers, but he turns out not to be there. It was actually a trap left for her, because now she's completely cornered. She asks him where Helsing is, but they ignore and try to convince Vlad to kill her. But he says no for some fuck-ass reason and throws Vampirella into the cell with Helsing. He takes her food source and then leaves, hoping that she'll go feral and kill Helsing. Then he starts to count down for the nuclear satellite. Helsing finally wakes up and she brings him up to speed. She doesn't want to kill Helsing, so she chains herself up, and I guess Helsing thinks that's kind of hot because he starts macking on her. Yeah? Is that when you want to start doing that? Well, when they're done swapping spit, Helsing tries to break out, but so does Vampirella. She breaks free and almost noms on our guy. He cuts himself and says she can have a little nibble, and she sucks him. She sucks him good. Vlad's planet is almost ready to go, so he sends some henchmen to go get Vampirella. Well, she kind of just like kills them immediately, and the two of them escape. They go to Vlad, who thinks that she killed Helsing. He asks her if she'll join him, and then they start making out in front of Helsing, and he does a cock look away. Oh man, I'm sorry, dog. Well, it was all just a trick because she hits Vlad in the nuts and then shoots the computer, which makes the satellite disintegrate for some fuck ass reason. Then the vampire hunters come in for the assist, which makes Vlad make a mad dash for it. He goes after him and he leads her to his evil lab. She chases him all the way to the roof and she gives him mad hands. She rips a piece of metal out of the railing and hucks it into Vlad. When he pulls it out, he gets struck by lightning, catching him on fire. Then he falls off the ledge and all the way down, presumably killing him. And that's the end, bro. And this movie, masterpiece. This is such a good bad movie. It may have taken some years off of my life, but I feel like it was worth it. The entire movie is on YouTube. I'll put it in the description so you can watch it yourself if you want. But it's in like 144p, so you know, have fun, dog. I just love low budget horror movies like this, bro. But it was based off the comic, so you know, I thought I'd share it. But that's what I thought about Vampirella, and I would love to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Also, like the video and hype it up, come on. And I also don't normally do this, but please check out my Bitterroot video. I put a lot of effort into it, and also I think the comic deserves a little recognition. But I'll see you guys in the next one, and make sure you tell your family that you love them. Bye-bye now.